Hello and good morning. Welcome to Virtual Coffee. I'm Cheryl Leong, your host from the Growth Hub. How are we all doing today? Today, we've been talking a little bit about presenting over the last few virtual coffees, really being able to provide some value in terms of how you can grow your personal brand and how you're getting your message out there. Because I'm finding so many business owners have such amazing superpowers and talents, and they're doing such great things, but we're not seeing it. And that's why public speaking is one of the most powerful skills you can apply, in your business, because it builds credibility, authority, reputation, and it's a highly effective form of marketing and business development. So I'd love to invite to Virtual Coffee today Shill, who is a pioneer in this field of having introduced the concept of public speaking in virtual reality, which is very unique to Perth. I just was caught up with Shill very briefly before he presented to about 1,500 people last week. They're not in lockdown, so they have the freedom to actually meet in person. And I'd love to touch base with him as to some of the things about how we can tweak our personalities and create our own personal style in public speaking and presenting, whether it's to an audience or just one on one. So without further ado, Shill, please join me on Virtual Coffee.
Hello. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
How Very, very well. Lovely to have you. And I'm very, very jealous that you were out meeting people face to face. It's one of those things now. It's not about Ferraris and gold watches. It's about the freedoms to actually meet people these days. That's the status symbol.
I don't think it should ever be about Ferraris and gold watches, though. Of course,
No.
we would love Ferraris and gold watches. However, I think it should be about having fun. And if that means not having Ferraris and gold watches, then so be it.
Absolutely, absolutely. She'll tell us a little bit about what you do and particularly how you came into this space of public speaking and serving others through your coaching.
Sure. Before I start, I noticed when you had the video, I was looking, that was a professional shot where I was looking very suave in a suit and so forth. And I haven't had a shave today, as you can see. So I look
Ah,
quite different to what the photo
don't
does.
worry, everyone in Sydney and Melbourne, we haven't had haircuts in 2 months, so
That
that's
was
okay.
that, that was my game plan. I
Yeah,
thought I
that's right.
would mimic.
To make the rest of us feel good. That's excellent.
Correct. I To answer your question, I specialize in public speaking. And when I say that, most people think that's being on stage and delivering a TED talk at a conference
Yeah.
in front of thousands of people. Whereas public speaking is one of the, if not the most transferable skill in business, because when you can learn to speak in public, when you can learn to feel confident and articulate your message to 5, 10, 500, or 1,000 people, you can transfer that to team meetings, to networking,
Mm,
to things like this, online calls. And as we all know, the video has become a huge part of how we communicate and interact. And so any form of communication, even speaking to somebody on the phone, we can apply the skills in public speaking. And so I
mm,
specialize in communicating and public speaking. How did I get into that? Because I am terrified of public speaking. And I've always considered it to be my number one fear. It has been the scariest thing for me my whole life. And the reason it's been so scary for me is because since I was 10 years old, I've had a lot of challenges with my ability to speak with fluency. So when I was 10, I was diagnosed with having a crippling stutter, which means I couldn't say my name and I couldn't talk. Over the years, that's gotten worse and worse. And the reason it got worse is because as a child, when you're growing up, other kids don't understand when you can't say your name, and so you're
Mm,
teased a lot, you're bullied a lot, and you're picked a lot in the playground. That then translates into to high school, because when your confidence is broken from a young age and then you get to high school, it carries through. And so throughout education, there was a lot of teasing and the bullying and a misunderstanding about why I couldn't speak. Sadly, that continued throughout my university career and my professional career. And I realized unless I found a way to be able to communicate and articulate myself clearly and confidently, life is very difficult.
mm,
Because when you meet somebody and you can't say your name, people don't understand. And whether we like it or not, we're very quick to place judgment. We're very quick to distance ourselves when we think something is not quite right. So if I was to walk up to you, Cheryl, and introduce myself and stutter furiously, it would be very difficult for us to connect and have a conversation. And so I thought to myself, why not teach myself to speak in public? Because if I can do that, I have to control my stutter.
mm.
And so that's part of the reason, a large part of the reason why I got into this. And so now, every time I communicate, every time I open my mouth and speak, including now while we're on this live call, at any moment, I apply 8 different techniques to stay fluent. And every one of these techniques must align at exactly the right time, at exactly the right place, at exactly the right moment in flow. And if it doesn't happen, I stutter.
How interesting. And was that something that you taught yourself along the way, obviously, or was it something that you've learnt from different mentors or coaches or just
No, no,
educated?
no. You cannot coach. I feel this couldn't be coached or mentored. I've learned it all on my own through trial and
Incredible.
error, through a baptism of fire, through repeatedly falling apart and crumbling and stuttering. And I've thrown up. I have passed out. I have had panic attacks. I have called in sick multiple times to work, hundreds
Yeah.
of times. That's, yeah, lots of times. And I learned through all of that how to stay calm, how to control my nerves, how to read body language,
Mm,
and what I need to do to adjust my personal style, which I believe is something we're
mm.
going to get into, in reaction to somebody, so that I can present well and influence the person I'm speaking to based on their reactions and their nonverbal cues. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been a lot of understanding through experiences and challenges which have contributed to now what I really, really believe is my superpower, and
yeah.
that's my sister.
Absolutely. And so how long did that transformation take from when
The
you decided?
transformation has been happening ever since I was 10. If you
Yeah.
when you think about it, I've been building these techniques ever since I was a kid. I didn't realize it
Mm,
though. So I remember a memory I had when I was in the playground. I was born in Kenya, and I was in the playground, and I was too afraid to join the other kids playing marbles. So there was a sand pit, and all the kids there were playing marbles, and I was too afraid to join them because I knew if I did, I would stutter, and if I stuttered, I knew they would take the piss out of me and they would bully me.
mm,
So I used to sit in the corner on my own and figure out in my head, how can I avoid saying certain words? What can I do to avoid certain conversations? What can
mm.
I do to replace some of the words that I struggle with? And that's a technique that I call mind mapping, which is something I use. I'm doing it now while I'm having a conversation with you. However, I learned to do all that ever since I was a kid, and I've built the techniques over years. I refined them
Yeah.
more in the last 4 years.
Incredible. And how much is this? Because the one thing that I hear all the time, it's like the number one fear that people have, apart from dying, is public speaking. And so, how much of uh, of whether it's your work or your work with people is about also understanding where that fear comes from.
A lot of it. A lot of it is understanding where's it coming from, what's driving it, and what can we do to work with it.
Mm,
There's
mm,
a question I'm asked all the time. In fact, in all my talks from last week, I was asked, what can you do to overcome the fear of
mm,
public speaking?
mm,
And to that, my answer is always the same. You don't overcome it because so Mark Twain once wrote, there are two types of speakers: those who are nervous and those who are liars. So no matter how accomplished you ever are as a presenter, if you don't feel the nerves and the jittery feelings, you're not human. It's okay to feel them. And so
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think it can be overcome because we will always have a fear of things going wrong or saying something wrong, or the butterflies will always go crazy. We learn to control it though, and we learn to use
Mm,
those emotions to our advantage.
yeah. And is that term true that you sort of fake it till you make it? Does that apply to public speaking as well?
Never.
Mm.
If anybody says fake it till you make it, and I'm going to come up close to the camera now,
Yes,
run
yes,
the other way. Run,
right.
run. I really, speaking from my own experiences, for a long time, I tried to fake it until I make it. And you know
Mm,
what? When you fake it, people can tell.
mm,
People can sense it. People can see it. People can feel it. I
mm.
think it's not a right strategy. Instead of faking it until you make it, be real until you make it.
Yeah.
Be
So let's
yourself.
talk about that. Let's talk about being like creating your own personal style. And we talked about briefly, some people are introverts and some people are extroverts. Is it easier for extroverts to be public speakers, or doesn't really matter? It's just the tools.
It's the tools. I work with a lot of extroverts. I've worked so on the opposite ends of the scale. I work with a lot of extroverts and I work with a lot of introverts. I find extroverts are boisterous,
Hmm.
they're outspoken, they're loud, they have a lot of courage and bravado. And because there's so much energy there and so much overconfidence, that can work against you
Mm,
because you feel you have a natural talent for public speaking and you forget that it's not about you, it's about the audience and how they
mm,
receive your message. And so I find with most extroverts I work with, we have to rechannel that energy and calm it down so that they deliver in a more effective and efficient way. And the introverts, they have great thoughts and great ideas and profound senses which are going through their mind that they're too afraid to articulate because they're
mm.
too nervous. And so, whether you've got enormous adrenaline going through you or you're super nervous, what happens to our body is a similar reaction in the way we react to it. It's understanding what drives it and what we need to do to either calm an extrovert down or lift the energy of an introvert to present in a compelling way.
Yeah. And so how do you help people come up with their personal style or recognize that they do have a personal style?
Everybody has a personal style, no matter who you are, no matter
Mm,
where you're from or how you look or how you dress. We all have a personal style. To your comment earlier, you fake it until you make it. Well, no. If we're Once we learn to feel very comfortable with who we are, others
mm,
will accept us for what we have to say. So, for example, with myself, last week, I stuttered at least 10 times on stage, at least. And a few were really, really rough, profound stutters where it could have been extremely tense. I'm okay with it now. And
mm.
so my personal style involves stopping, having a drink, taking a moment to breathe. And there were some times where I would smile and say, whoops, he's back. And I would make a joke out of it to people because
Yeah.
that's what makes me feel better. And
Yes.
so, with your personal style, understand what makes you feel content, understand what makes you feel absolutely at peace. And to give an example, I have a client I work with who clicks his pen a lot,
Mm. Mm.
constantly does this, constantly does that. And it used to make him feel very stressed and anxious going into meetings. And I said to him, "Well, that's your thing, man. That's your personal style. So before you start speaking, tell everybody, I click my pen. It can be quite annoying. However, I do this because I keep my anxiety levels down. So please bear with
Mm.
me while I click away." By
Mm.
doing that, you've taken the pressure off yourself. You've told everybody it's going to happen. And so now it's up to everybody else to deal with it, not you.
Yes. Yes.
So
Address the elephant in the room.
completely address it. I once went to a presentation where I caught a bus on the way to my client, and as I sat down, I ripped a hole in the back of my pants.
Oops.
And just so you know, on the day I was wearing pink boxer shorts to paint a pretty picture for everybody. And so when I got there, my stress
That's your
levels were
personal style. No judgment. Yeah.
no judgment. I like pink boxer shorts. What can I say? So when I got there, as I turned to write on the whiteboard, I said to everyone, if anybody stares at my ass today, I understand you want to look at my pink shorts. However, I ripped my pants on the bus and I didn't have time to go home and get changed. So if you're looking at my ass, I know why.
Yeah.
And it was a great way to break the ice and feel
Yes.
comfortable about it. And I couldn't change it. I couldn't fix it at the time. So be, be honest with people, be
Mm.
completely upfront and honest. And I find
Mm.
when I'm going through things on stage, I'll share it with my audience. I'll tell them
Mm.
how I'm
Mm.
feeling, what I'm going through, why I'm going through it. However, what I would avoid doing is telling people you're nervous.
Mm. Mm.
Often I hear presenters starting and saying, "I'm so nervous today. I feel nervous today." There is no need to say that. We know
Mm.
you're nervous. Most people feel nervous. Just get on with it and don't keep telling people you are nervous and don't keep apologizing. A lot of
Yeah.
times I hear people saying, "I'm so sorry. Please, I'm just going to get a drink. I'm, I feel nervous. I'm so sorry." Well, what's there to feel sorry about?
Absolutely.
There's nothing to apologize for. So don't tell people you're nervous constantly and don't apologize because you've done
Yeah.
nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's um you're absolutely right. We feel the need to justify the way that we're feeling to others when in fact it's almost like we're affirming to ourselves that we are nervous. Whereas potentially we could change that around and say, actually, I'm really excited to be here. And that nervousness could be converted to excitement
Correct.
instead.
Correct. Correct. And I don't know about you, or I don't know about anybody else on who watches this. Say you're in a team meeting and all of a sudden it comes around to you and it's your turn to say something. Starts to flutter, you feel the butterflies going and you feel excited.
Mm.
Or has anybody ever been to a networking event where once do you remember those days where we could all go to networking events with 50 people and 100 people in the room, and then you go around the room and
Yep.
everybody's got 60 seconds to introduce themselves, and
Yes.
the event organizer goes, "Go on, oh, it's over to you to have your 60-second tell us about you." And you watch people, and as it comes over to you, you think, "Yes, shit, it's my turn. I gotta go. What am I gonna say?" And we
Yes.
feel really anxious when that happens. That's a form of public speaking. And when we start, we're at our
Yes.
most anxious. And then as we progress, we feel better. And then when we're done, we
Mm.
always think to ourselves, why did I say that? Why did I say
Mm.
something different? And so
Mm.
that there's a wonderful quote by somebody called Dale Carnegie. And he says, for every speech, there are three: the one you practiced, the one you gave, and the one you wish you gave. And I love
Yeah,
that because it's so true.
it's absolutely true. I think about the presentation I did last week, and I had my slides and I had my notes, and I followed none of my notes. And I just went, "Why? What was that? What was that about?"
What was your presentation about?
It was to a group of buyers agents and talking to them about delegation. When's a good time to delegate? How to identify um, when's a good time to delegate? What to delegate, and how to delegate.
Cool.
So, and let's talk about this idea of the marketing tool because when I look back at the presentation now, how are you using public speaking or presenting as an effective marketing tool? Because often we think, okay, public speaking, Tony Robbins style, we're looking to move people, inspire, and motivate. How do we use those superpowers in terms of marketing ourselves as well?
Sure, sure. Every business, every con- every consultancy or practice or business or company or whatever you want to call yourself, we aim to generate leads.
Mhm.
We aim to convert those leads into paying clients, and then we aim to convert those paying clients into repeat clients. Quite a simple formula, correct?
Yeah.
Not such a simple one to execute, though, because
Mhm.
it's not easy to get leads. It's not easy to then convert leads. It's then not easy to make sure you should, whatever your line of work is, deliver a service that's not good, that's exceptional and remarkable, so
Mm.
that people come back to you and refer you to others. Getting a lead can come in a few ways. We can do it online, or we can cold call, or we can go out to see people for coffees. However, that takes time. It
Mm.
takes time to meet 100 people for coffees. I mentioned this at the beginning of my call. I must have presented to 1,500 people last week. How many coffees would I need to have to see 1,500 people?
You'd be buzzing for years.
That heaps. So even if I did no more business development for the next 12 months, I'm okay because I saw 1,500 people.
Mm.
And the 1,500 people there, because I'm the
Mm.
presenter, view me as a subject matter expert. They see authority, they see credibility. Of course, you need to present well. You need to be able to
Mm.
to hold the room and engage the room. However, I always say it is such a powerful form of marketing because even if you present for free, I'm a paid speaker, so I get paid to present. However, if you're presenting for free, which is what most of us do,
Mm.
you're
Mm.
still in a room with 5, 10, 50 people, which is a captive audience. It's a brilliant opportunity to deliver a presentation or a story about your expertise, your journey, where you've come from, your vision, and what you want to do. And off the back of that, leads come. If you present it well, leads come because it's a captive audience, and it's
Mm.
one of the most powerful forms of marketing that there is. The challenge is we're afraid to do it.
Mm.
And when we do it, we're not effective at doing it. And then we don't have an effective strategy to capitalize on the room. So, say you've presented to 50 people. Think about how can you convert the 50 people to 10,000 people?
Mm.
Because when you're doing that on scale consistently every week, in over the course of a year, you presented thousands of people. And then if you find a way to leverage that, that then gets exposed to tens of thousands of people. And when that happens, lead generation becomes very organic. And because
Mm.
people have seen you on stage, people have seen you presenting, there's no question about the authority and credibility which you have, which makes the sales and conversion process easier, or
Yeah.
rather, it should make that process easier.
Yeah.
Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is something they said I experienced myself in just a presentation. Like you said, you've got a captive audience. So I had a group of people there, And so long as you're, and what I learnt sitting there and planning my presentation, something that you said that really resonated was like, tell them about your journey and why you're there and why this topic is important not only to you but to the audience.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah,
Do you mind?
absolutely.
In in June 2020, when the world was first going into lockdown. So at the start of 2020, in
Mm,
March, everybody was in lockdown. We had no idea what COVID was, and everybody was buying a lot of toilet paper and stressing out about the wrong things in life. However, as soon as we came out of the lockdown, I ran an event in Perth called Game Changer.
mm,
Game Changer was introducing VR. So it
mm,
was introducing technology as a way to practice public speaking. And I don't mean this. I mean wear a goggle, a headset, and through the headset I
right.
can bring an audience to you. So we invested a lot of time into building a platform in VR, and I wanted to introduce this to the market. Except I didn't want this to be a sell because people don't ever buy from you if you sell.
Mm,
So my idea was I'm going to wow people with the vision and the story. And I likened it to Steve Jobs. Now I am not saying I'm Steve Jobs. Please do not think that I'm saying that. However, when Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone, we didn't need an iPhone. We weren't
mm.
prepared for it. We were happy with our Nokias playing snakes on our phones. You remember that? And
Yes.
Motorola's, the flip phones, we loved it. I used
Yeah.
to have one
Yeah.
clipped on my side, and I thought I was
Yeah.
the coolest person in the world. I'm sure everybody did.
Yeah.
However, when he introduced the iPhone, he gave us a vision of what the world could be like.
Mm,
So when I introduced the VR concept, I told a story about the vision for where I see the future of public speaking. And my intention for that was vision, storytelling, and positioning. Because we had 100 people come into the room spaced out. First event in the country with 100 people
mm,
after COVID. It was brilliant. And the whole concept was this is not a sell. This is for you to recognize me as a game changer, as somebody who's disrupting the industry so that Chatterbox is positioned as somebody who pushes the boundaries with what's possible.
mm.
And it worked. And it worked. We had a captive audience in the room, and we learned to leverage that. We streamed it to 18 countries around the world. I was shitting myself.
Oh, I can only imagine.
I was shitting myself. Excuse my language. I feel it's okay to say that
It's
though.
fine.
And so that was applying positioning and credibility and authority. It took me months to design the presentation, months to
Mm,
design it. I had it checked and torn and tweaked, and I spoke to mentors and delivered it 100 times to make sure that my drops and my triggers worked exactly at the point that I wanted to. And then,
mm.
of course, I had a tech fail while I was on stage,
Of course. Of
which
course.
always happens. However, to anybody who who is watching and wants to understand the relevance of this, I had an idea which I wanted to present to the market. And I didn't want to sell the idea. I wanted to position the idea as being revolutionary and pioneering, which in
Mm,
turn gave me credibility, which in turn
mm,
cemented my authority. And ever since that day, Chatterbox has grown by over 300%.
mm. Incredible. And that's the message, 'cause, like, there was no sell. It
None.
was basically it was providing value, but more so providing, um, a vision of where people could go to or be or whichever that might be, and at no point there was, "Here, sign up today and you get 50% off," or whatever that might be.
Nope, nope. There was no. I
Mm,
we ran. We controlled every aspect of that event. it cost us a fair bit of money to run it. We paid for food, drink, for venue hire, everything. Guests came for free. Did we didn't even charge our guests a ticket entry. It was all free
Mm.
because the idea was if we can get 100 people in the room, we had over 500 who registered, who were interested. Over
Wow.
500. We got 100 in the room spaced out. It was fantastic. And the outcome of it was no sell, no pamphlets, no brochures, no please call us, no business cards. In fact, I've stopped carrying cards for years now. I
Mm.
refuse to carry cards now because the idea was if you want to know more, you can find me on my LinkedIn where I share a lot of content on public speaking, and you can contact us if you want to talk. I'm
Yeah.
not fussed if you don't want to talk. And
Mm.
we removed ourselves from that sales process, and it worked
Mm.
beautifully.
Mm. Did you think that was is that a reverse psychology thing that people see that you're not hungry for the sale and hence um it's like the unattainable. Actually, he must be so good that I need to actually he doesn't need me, but actually I think I might need what he's doing. So do you think there's a bit of that reverse psychology there?
Yes, there is, and I learned this through my old industry. I used to be in the fit out and construction game,
Okay.
where one of my KPIs was sell, 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 sell.
Mm, mm,
And every time I tried to sell, nobody was interested. No one. No one, because I, even through building a relationship over a lunch or a cup of coffee, there was still the intention of a sell, and you could
mm.
feel it, you could sense it. I've removed all that, and now I say anybody I meet, my the filter process is, look, if you'd like to work with me, I'll see if I have the capacity, and if I have capacity, sure. However, my rates start from here,
Mm.
and I'm not in the negotiation game. If you can't afford me, I completely understand. We're not meant to work together. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely fine. And it acts as a filter, it acts as a positioning tool. It gives me the flexibility then to work with who I feel is right for me. And
Mm.
as a concept, I've got the book up here. It's too high up to get. It's not on the ceiling, by the
I
way.
was gonna say you're gonna reach up into
No, it's not up
into
on the
the
ceiling.
heavens.
I have a bookshelf over here, and it's on the top shelf. There's a book by somebody called Matt Church, who's the founder of the Thought Leaders Practice. And Matt has a wonderful the philosophy which he teaches people, and that philosophy is do work you love with people you like the
Mm,
way you want.
mm.
Do work you love with
I love
people
that.
you like the way you want. And
I'm
I
gonna write
embrace
that.
that wholeheartedly. And part of that process
Mm,
is telling people, thank you for your interest. However, if I am not fussed if I'm not the right fit or if you can't afford me, not a problem at all. If I have capacity and if I
mm.
feel we're a good fit, I sometimes even ask the question, so why should I work with you?
Oh, it
Why should I work with you?
turns the tables around,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
And if the response is, well, I'm going to pay you a fee, I'll say it it takes time to work with you, so why should I work with you? Let's put the fee aside.
Mm,
Why should I invest time into working with you?
mm.
And that's a really hard question for some people to answer.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's some real gold nuggets there. I like that there's the the message around selling by not selling
Yeah,
and how you've been able to qualify people just purely by saying these are our rates, and so there's no objection, there's no a price objection there. This is like this is us, we know our the value that we bring.
yeah. Well, there's I hear a lot of businesses. I see a lot of businesses talk about their filter process. What's your filter? What's your way to vet a potential client? And there's normally
Mm,
steps in the filter process. We vet them. We have a call. We do X. We do
mm,
Y.
mm, mm,
But all that takes time. So how about you just eliminate all of that and say my rates start at X. Is that in your budget?
mm.
No? Cool. Well, that's my filter process. Done.
Yeah.
That there's a quick Phil, I know it sounds brutal. It probably sounds very harsh, and I'm not suggesting this is for everybody.
Mm,
However, one thing we never ever ever get back is time.
yes.
No one ever, even this, our coffee today, I value that you would like to give up your time to speak to me. I really
And
value that.
likewise. And
And
likewise.
you would never get this time back. So we need to add value into this time. And so I feel when I used to go through the vetting process of let's have a call, let's have a chat, let me send you a
Mm,
proposal, let's follow up, that takes 2 hours.
mm,
You
yes.
eliminate those 2 hours by asking the question up front. Have you got a budget? Normally, answer is no, I don't, because I'm not sure. And so I'll tell them, well, just so you know, this is the minimum you would be looking at. And
Mm,
instantly, it's a filter process.
yes. Yeah. Great takeaways there. I know that there's so much more value that we can be sharing in this conversation. Also mindful that we're meant to have a brief little virtual coffee. She'll tell us a little bit more about people who are the right fit and who would love to be able to work with you. What are the different ways that they can work with you?
Two ways, one on one or group. That's how I work with people. So I have a lot of one on one engagements, and they run from 3 months all the way to 12-month partnerships.
Mm,
In terms of group coaching, the best way to answer that question is the only industry I haven't worked with is space and aeronautical. Other than
wow.
that, I've worked with every industry you can imagine. What's my avatar? So who are the people I work with? On one end, I've presented to schools and I work with MBA students. And on the
Mm,
other end of the scale, I'm currently doing work with a CEO of a company who runs 850 people.
mm,
And it is such a transferable skill across any industry. Whatever industry you work in, we network, we present,
yes.
we speak on camera, we need to position ourselves in a certain way, we need to tell people about our products, our services, and what we do. We need to tell stories, and I specialize in storytelling. How can we tell a compelling, a memorable and engaging story that ticks all parts of the human brain, so when you're speaking to somebody, they smile and they organically want to work with you?
Mm, absolutely. So if people want to find out more, Shill at chatterboxps.com.au.
Yes, the best place to find me from is my LinkedIn. So please follow me on my LinkedIn. I share plenty of content on there all the time around education with speaking and positioning and what to do and how to do it. So if you'd like to follow me there, please follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best place to get me.
Excellent. Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Shill, for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I can see that you're a soccer fan. Football is the right
Yes,
word. Manchester United.
I
That's
am.
my
It's
do
the
you
way to my heart.
it's the way to your heart. And my brother used to stay up at ridiculous hours of the night just watching the World Cup. So
Yes,
I
I'm a
I can
big football fan, and I told my wife, my I love her, when we first met, I said, just so you know, you will always be number two in my life.
At least we were open and upfront about
Open
that.
and honest. Oh,
Open
very
and
honest.
honest relationship. Awesome, Shill. Fantastic, fantastic time with you. I've learnt a lot, and I hope anyone that's listening to this, please drop your comments below. Tag Shill as well. This is going on LinkedIn and Facebook, and it does go up on YouTube as well. So, have a fantastic day, Shill, and a week.
And you?
And I'm looking forward to catching up with you again very, very soon. So
Likewise.
take care,
Likewise.
everyone,
Yeah.
and see you next time.